I bought my ticket while she was still on the phone. "Just 5 more minutes, babe," Emma whispered, her hand covering the microphone. "Derek needs to tell me something important." I didn't respond. I walked straight to the platform, dragging my suitcase behind me. The train to Portland sat waiting, steam rising from beneath its carriages in the cold November air. We'd planned this trip for 3 months, a weekend getaway to celebrate our 2-year anniversary. The tickets were non-refundable. The hotel was booked. "Liam, wait!" Emma called out, jogging toward me while still clutching her phone. "He's going through a really tough time. His mom is sick and—" "Enjoy your call," I said, stepping onto the train. Her eyes widened. "You can't be serious. You're actually leaving without me?" "The train leaves in 2 minutes. You made your choice." I found my seat, placed my bag in the overhead compartment, and pulled out my book. Through the window, I watched Emma pace back and forth on the platform, her phone still pressed to her ear. She kept glancing at the train, then away, then back again. Her mouth was moving rapidly, apologizing to him probably, explaining the situation to him, asking him what she should do. Not once did she hang up. The train lurched forward. Emma's head snapped up. She took 3 steps toward the train, stopped, then looked back at her phone. Her face twisted with indecision. She raised one hand toward me, a pleading gesture. I turned the page of my book. As the station disappeared behind us, I pulled out my phone and navigated to my carrier's website. Changing my number took less than 10 minutes. I saved the new number in my contacts, then systematically went through my phone, updating the people who actually mattered: my parents, my boss, my best friend Jake, my sister. Emma's name sat in my contacts like a gravestone. I deleted it. Then I blocked her old number on the new one, just to be thorough. She could have gotten on the train. She'd had 2 minutes. Instead, she'd chosen to stay on the platform with Derek's voice in her ear. And that told me everything I needed to know about where I ranked in her priorities. The countryside rolled past my window, bare trees against gray skies, farmhouses with smoke curling from chimneys, small towns with their lights just beginning to flicker on in the late afternoon. I'd taken this route before with Emma, and she'd spent most of the journey on her phone, texting. I'd told myself she was just busy with work. Now I wondered how many of those messages had been from Derek. The Portland coast stretched before me when I arrived that evening, wind whipping off the ocean in salty gusts. I checked into my hotel room alone. The reservation was under my name anyway. I'd paid for everything, just like I'd paid for most things in our relationship. Emma was saving money and building her career, which apparently meant I covered dinners, trips, and rent when she stayed over for weeks at a time. I spent that night walking along the waterfront, eating at a seafood restaurant I'd researched months ago, and sleeping in a king-sized bed with no one reaching over at 3 in the morning to steal the covers. The silence felt like freedom. Saturday morning, my phone buzzed. Jake. "Dude, Emma's been calling me non-stop. She's losing her mind trying to reach you. What happened?" "She stayed behind to talk to her ex instead of getting on the train. I left without her and changed my number." A long pause. "Holy shit, you actually did it." "Did what?" "You finally stopped being her backup plan." Jake exhaled. "About damn time, man. She's been walking all over you for months with this Derek situation." He wasn't wrong. It had started small, Emma mentioning that Derek had texted her, just checking in. Then it was Derek calling because he needed advice about his new job. Then Derek was having anxiety and needed someone to talk to. Then Derek's mom was diagnosed with cancer, and he had no one else to turn to. I'd been patient, understanding, supportive even. I'd told myself that being a good boyfriend meant trusting her, giving her space to maintain her friendships. But friendship didn't require hour-long phone calls at midnight. Friendship didn't mean canceling our plans 3 times in 1 month because Derek needed her. Friendship didn't mean making me wait at a train station while she prioritized his voice over my presence. "What should I tell her?" Jake asked. "Nothing. She's not my problem anymore. She's asking everyone for your new number. No one has permission to give it to her. She's claiming you abandoned her, that you left her stranded at the station with no way to get home." I laughed, a short, bitter sound. Her car was in the parking lot. She drove herself there. The only thing I left her with was a choice she'd already made. That's what I figured. Look, man, I'm proud of you. Legitimately. You've been too good to her for too long. After we hung up, I realized Jake was right. I had been too good to her. I'd twisted myself into knots trying to be the understanding boyfriend, the one who didn't get jealous or possessive, the one who respected her need to help a friend in crisis. But there was a difference between being understanding and being a doormat, and I'd crossed that line months ago. I spent the rest of that weekend doing exactly what I wanted. I hiked through Forest Park, the autumn leaves crunching beneath my boots. The trail was challenging, steep in places, and I pushed myself harder than necessary, sweating despite the cold. At the summit, I stood overlooking the city and felt something shift inside me. Clarity, maybe. Or just the simple recognition that I was better off alone than with someone who made me feel alone. I visited Powell's books and bought 6 novels I'd been meaning to read. Emma had always complained when I wanted to spend time reading, instead of watching whatever reality show she was obsessed with that week. I'd compromised, putting my books aside to sit through hours of manufactured drama. No more. I sat in coffee shops and wrote in my journal, something I hadn't done in months because Emma always wanted my attention when we were together. She'd pout if I pulled out my notebook, saying I was ignoring her or being antisocial. I'd learned to write only when she wasn't around, which meant I barely wrote at all. On Sunday, I went to the Portland Art Museum. While standing in front of a Monet, a woman with auburn hair and a sketchbook asked me what I thought of the painting. "I think it's interesting how he captures light," I said, "like he's painting the feeling of a moment rather than the moment itself." She smiled. "Most people just say, 'It's pretty.'" Her name was Victoria. She was an art teacher at a local high school, spending her weekend studying techniques at the museum. We talked for 2 hours, wandering from gallery to gallery. She had this way of looking at art that was both analytical and emotional, discussing brush techniques one moment and the feeling a piece evoked the next. "What brings you to Portland alone?" she asked, as we stood before a contemporary piece, slashes of red and black across canvas. I needed to remember what it felt like to do something just for myself. She nodded, understanding in her eyes. "Sometimes the best company is your own." When she asked for my number, I gave it to her without hesitation. No baggage, no ex-boyfriend hovering in the background, just a genuine connection with someone who was actually present. I returned home Sunday night. My apartment felt different, lighter somehow. I'd removed all of Emma's things before the trip, a decision I'd made 3 days prior when she'd canceled our dinner plans because Derek needed to process some feelings. I'd boxed up her clothes, her toiletries, the random items she'd accumulated in my space over 2 years. The boxes sat in my storage unit now, waiting. Looking around my apartment, I realized how much of myself I'd packed away to make room for her. My bookshelves had been half empty because she thought they made the place look cluttered. My artwork was in the closet because it didn't match her aesthetic. My guitar sat unplayed in the corner because she hated when I practiced. I spent that evening unpacking myself, books back on shelves, art on the walls, guitar on its stand by the window. My space looked like mine again. Monday morning, I went to work. I was a project manager at a software development company, and I'd been coasting for months, distracted by relationship drama. No more. I threw myself into my projects. I volunteered for the high-visibility assignment everyone else had been avoiding, a complete overhaul of our client management system. It was challenging, complex, and required long hours. I welcomed it. Work had always energized me, and without the constant emotional drain of managing Emma's relationship with Derek, I had mental space to actually think. My colleague Trevor noticed immediately. "Whatever you're on, I want some. You've been on fire all day." "Just focused," I said. "Well, keep it up. We need this energy around here." Tuesday evening, my apartment buzzer rang. "Liam, please, we need to talk." Emma's voice crackled through the intercom. I didn't respond. I pressed the button that muted my end and went back to my laptop. The buzzer rang 14 more times over the next hour. Then it stopped. Around 9 p.m., my phone, my new number that she shouldn't have, rang. Unknown number. I answered, curious. "Liam, thank God. It's Emma. I got your number from..." I hung up and blocked the number. Then I sent a message to Jake. "Did you give Emma my new number?" "No way, man. But Rachel might have. She's been feeling guilty. Tell Rachel that the next person who gives Emma my number loses mine, too." On it. Wednesday, flowers arrived at my office. 24 roses with a card. "I'm sorry. Please call me. I love you. Emma." I gave them to my coworker Jennifer, who'd just gotten engaged. "Congratulations on your engagement. These shouldn't go to waste." Her eyes widened. "Are you sure? These are expensive." "Positive. Enjoy them." Thursday, Emma showed up at my gym. I spotted her through the window before I went in, standing by the entrance, looking at her phone and then at every car that pulled in. I drove to a different location across town. I made a mental note to change my routine entirely. Maybe switch to morning workouts instead of evening ones. Friday, my sister Hannah called. "Emma came by Mom and Dad's house," she said. "She was crying. She said you disappeared and won't talk to her." "I didn't disappear. I changed my number because I'm done." "She seems really upset, Liam. She was sobbing on Mom's couch for an hour." "And what did Mom say?" Hannah paused. "She told Emma that she seemed to care more about finding you now than she did about keeping you when she had you. Then she asked Emma to leave." I smiled. My mother had never been Emma's biggest fan. She'd always been polite, but I knew she saw through Emma's tendency to play the victim. "She said it was just a misunderstanding," Hannah continued. "That Derek was in crisis, and Derek is always in crisis. And Emma is always available for him. I'm not interested in being the person she settles for when he's not having an emergency." She said Derek's mom has cancer. That's pretty serious. It is. And if Derek needs support, he has family, friends, and presumably a therapist. What he doesn't need is his ex-girlfriend being more emotionally available to him than she is to her actual boyfriend. Than she was to her actual boyfriend. Hannah was quiet for a moment. "Fair enough. She did seem pretty obsessed with finding you, though. It's kind of intense. Block her if she bothers. You again." "Already did. She was starting to freak me out, honestly." Over the next 2 weeks, I heard through mutual friends that Emma was devastated. She'd apparently told everyone that I'd overreacted, that I'd abandoned her at the train station over nothing, that she couldn't believe I'd throw away 2 years over one phone call. One phone call. As if it hadn't been a pattern. As if I hadn't watched her prioritize Derek's emotional needs over our relationship for 6 months. as if I hadn't sat through countless dinners where she was physically present, but mentally somewhere else, waiting for his next text. Our friend group began to fracture. Some people believed Emma's version of events, that I'd cruelly left her stranded over a momentary lapse in judgment. Others knew the full story and understood why I'd walked away. I didn't defend myself to anyone who asked. The people who mattered knew the truth. The ones who didn't weren't worth my energy. As I lost a few friends in the process. Tom and his girlfriend Melissa stopped inviting me to game nights because Emma would cry every time my name came up. Fine. I'd rather have no friends than friends who expected me to accept disrespect for the sake of group harmony. But I gained clarity. And I gained Jake's deeper respect. And I gained my Tuesday nights back. The ones I'd spent at game night, watching Emma flirt with Tom while I pretended not to notice, wondering if I was crazy for feeling uncomfortable. Victoria and I went on our second date that Friday. We went to a pottery class, her idea, and I discovered I was terrible at working with clay. My bowl collapsed 4 times. Victoria's vase was elegant and symmetrical. We laughed until our sides hurt. "You're really bad at this," she teased, watching my 5th attempt cave in on itself. "Catastrophically bad," I agreed. "This is humbling. It's nice, though, seeing you not be good at something. You seem like the kind of person who's usually competent at everything." "I'm competent at things that matter. Apparently pottery is not one of them." Afterward, we got Thai food and talked about our families, our dreams, the places we wanted to travel. Victoria wanted to see the art museums in Europe, the Louvre, the Uffizi Gallery, the Prado. I wanted to hike through New Zealand's mountains. We talked about compromise, about finding ways to do both. "You seem like someone who's figured himself out," Victoria said, twirling pad thai around her fork. "I'm working on it," I replied. "I recently ended a relationship that wasn't serving me. It's been clarifying." "Good for you. Too many people stay in situations that drain them because they're afraid of being alone. Being alone is better than being lonely with someone." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I like the way you think." On our 3rd date, we went to a concert, an indie band she loved and I'd never heard of. The music was good, but what I remember most was standing in the crowd with her hand in mine, feeling completely present. Not checking my phone, not wondering if Emma was texting, not anxious about what crisis would interrupt our evening. Just there, in the moment, with someone who wanted to be nowhere else. A month passed. My project at work was ahead of schedule. I'd implemented a new tracking system that streamlined our entire workflow. My team was happy. Client satisfaction scores were up. I'd transformed from a competent project manager to one who was actively innovating. My director, Patricia, noticed and called me into her office. "Liam, the quality of your work lately has been exceptional," she said. "I'm recommending you for the senior project manager position that's opening up in January. It comes with a significant raise and the opportunity to lead our most important accounts." "Thank you," I said, meaning it. "I appreciate your confidence." "Whatever you're doing differently, keep doing it." I knew exactly what I was doing differently. I was investing my energy in things that actually mattered, instead of pouring it into a relationship with someone who saw me as a safety net. That weekend, Jake invited me to a party at his place. I almost declined. I'd been enjoying my solitude and my growing relationship with Victoria, but something made me say yes. Maybe curiosity, maybe closure. Emma was there. She spotted me the moment I walked in. Her face went through a rapid series of emotions: surprise, relief, hope, desperation. She abandoned the group she'd been talking to and rushed over. "Liam," she breathed. "Finally. I've been trying to reach you for weeks." "I know. Why haven't you answered? Why did you change your number? Everyone's been worried sick." I'm not everyone's responsibility, I said calmly. I'm fine. Better than fine, actually. Her eyes searched my face, and I could see her registering the changes. I'd lost the tired, worn-down look I'd been carrying. I'd been working out more consistently. I was wearing a new shirt, one Victoria had helped me pick out when we went shopping last weekend. I looked good, and I knew it. We need to talk about what happened, Emma said. About the train station. I can explain. There's nothing to explain. You made a choice. I made one too. It wasn't like that. Her voice rose, drawing attention. Derek was having a panic attack. His mom had just gotten bad news from the doctor. He needed me. And I needed you to get on the train. You chose him, it's that simple. You're being incredibly unfair. Tears welled in her eyes, and I recognized the tactic. She'd used those tears before to get what she wanted, to make me feel guilty for having boundaries. I said I'd only be 5 minutes. You didn't even give me a chance. You had 2 minutes from when I boarded until the train left. That's how long it took you to choose between your ex-boyfriend's phone call and your actual relationship. I'm not interested in relitigating it. So that's it? 2 years together and you just throw it away? I looked at her carefully. She'd lost weight. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. Her hair, usually so carefully styled, was pulled back in a messy ponytail. She looked exhausted. Part of me felt bad for her. But a larger part of me remembered all the times I'd looked exhausted too, drained from trying to be enough for someone whose attention was always elsewhere. I felt nothing but distant sympathy. I'm not the one who threw it away, Emma. You did that when you made Derek your priority over and over again. The train station was just the moment I stopped accepting it. I don't understand why you're being so cold. I'm not being cold. I'm being clear. We're done. We've been done since November 9th. I'm just the only one who accepted it. But I love you. The tears spilled over. Several people at the party were watching now, but Emma didn't seem to care. I made a mistake. I should have hung up on Derek and gotten on the train. I know that now. I've had over a month to think about it, and I know I was wrong. Please, can't we just— Emma, are you still talking to Derek? She froze. What? It's a simple question. Since that day at the train station, have you still been in contact with Derek? Her silence was deafening. That's what I thought, I said. You're not sorry you prioritized him. You're sorry you lost me. There's a difference. That's not fair. He's going through something terrible with his mom. I can't just abandon him. But you can abandon me at a train station. Got it. Stop twisting my words. I'm not twisting anything. You're still doing exactly what you were doing before. The only thing that's changed is that I'm not around anymore to be your backup plan while you play support system for your ex. You want me back because you miss the stability I provided, not because you actually choose me. She grabbed my arm. That's not true. I love you, Liam. I choose you. I gently removed her hand. No, you don't. You want to choose me, which is different. If you actually chose me, Derek would have been an ex you talked to occasionally, not someone whose needs regularly superseded ours. I'm done competing for space in my own relationship. Jake appeared at my elbow. Everything okay here? Fine, I said. I was just leaving. Liam, please! Emma's voice cracked. Don't walk away. Not again. Let's talk about this properly. We can fix this. I turned back one last time. There's nothing to fix, Emma. I'm not broken. The relationship was broken. I'm actually better now than I've been in months. I hope you figure out what you really want, but I'm not going to wait around while you decide. Are you seeing someone? The question came out sharp, accusatory. Is that what this is about? This is about me respecting myself enough to walk away from someone who didn't. Whether I'm seeing someone else is none of your business. You are. I can tell. That's why you moved on so fast. You probably had her lined up before you even left me at the station. Jake stepped between us. Emma, that's enough. You need to go. This is my friend group too, she said. You can't just kick me out. You made this scene, Jake said firmly. Not Liam. He tried to leave quietly. You're the one who's making everyone uncomfortable. I think it's best if you go home. Emma looked around at the faces watching her. Some sympathetic, others uncomfortable, a few annoyed. She grabbed her coat and purse. At the door, she turned back. You'll regret this, Liam. When you realize what you lost, I won't be waiting. Good, I said. You shouldn't wait. You should find someone whose attention you actually want, because you never really wanted mine. You just wanted the security of having it available. She left, slamming the door behind her. The party resumed slowly. Jake handed me a beer. That was intense. Yeah. You good? Surprisingly, yes, I am. Victoria was waiting for me outside. I'd told her I'd only be stopping by briefly, and she'd gone for coffee while I made my appearance. She took one look at my face and handed me a latte. Ex-girlfriend? She asked. Yeah. Want to talk about it? Not particularly. Want to go see that new exhibit at the sculpture garden? She smiled. Absolutely. As we drove away, I caught a glimpse of Emma in Jake's doorway. She'd come back out and was watching my car disappear down the street. She looked small and lost. I felt a twinge of something. Not regret, but perhaps recognition. I'd loved her once. That person I'd loved had been real. But so had the person who'd repeatedly chosen someone else over me. Both versions could be true simultaneously. I just didn't have to stick around for either anymore. Christmas came. My promotion was finalized. I started my new role in early January with a 30% salary increase and a team of 5 developers reporting to me. The work was intense, but rewarding. I was building something, creating systems that would outlast my involvement, making a real impact. Victoria and I spent New Year's Eve at a cabin in the mountains. We'd been dating for 2 months, and it felt right to do something special. We cooked dinner together. She taught me how to make risotto, laughing at my first failed attempt at getting the consistency right. We played board games by the fire. She destroyed me at Scrabble, but I won at chess. At midnight, we went out onto the deck and watched fireworks from distant towns lighting up the valley below. When she kissed me as the new year began, I felt present in a way I hadn't in years. What are you thinking about? She asked later, as we sat wrapped in blankets under the stars. How different my life is now compared to 3 months ago. Better or worse? Infinitely better. I feel like myself again. I'd forgotten what that felt like. She leaned, her head on my shoulder. I'm glad I met you at the museum. Me too. Best impulse decision I ever made, talking to you. You seemed sad that day, she said quietly. Not broken, but like you were rediscovering yourself. I liked that. Liked that you were there alone, choosing to do something just for you. That was the first weekend after I left Emma. I was figuring out who I was without her. And who are you? I thought about it. Someone who doesn't compromise on being chosen. Someone who'd rather be alone than undervalued. Someone who knows what he deserves. I like him, she said. I like him a lot. In February, I ran into one of Emma's close friends at a coffee shop. Rachel had always been kind to me, and she approached my table hesitantly. Liam, hey, can I sit for a second? Sure. She sat down, fidgeting with her cup. I probably shouldn't tell you this, but I thought you deserved to know. Emma's in a bad place. I waited, not offering anything. After you left, she kept insisting everything was fine. that you'd overreacted and would come back eventually. But you didn't come back. And Derek, he started dating someone new in December. Seriously dating someone. Emma found out through social media. Okay. She was devastated. I think she realized that she'd burned everything down with you for someone who was never actually going to be with her. Derek was just using her for emotional support while he got his life together. That's unfortunate. Rachel looked surprised by my flat tone. She really misses you, Liam. She talks about you constantly. She says she finally understands what she lost. Rachel, I appreciate you telling me, but it doesn't change anything. Emma made choices based on what she wanted in the moment. I made choices based on what I deserved. Her regret now doesn't erase 6 months of being treated like a consolation prize. She's changed, though. She's not talking to Derek anymore. She's been in therapy. She's really working on herself. That's good. Genuinely. Everyone should work on themselves. But she should be doing that for herself, not to get me back. And therapy takes time. You don't undo patterns in a few months. So there's no chance? No, there's not. I'm with someone who actually chooses me every day without hesitation. Someone who doesn't make me wonder if I matter. Emma taught me what I don't want, and I'm grateful for that lesson. But I'm not going back to be the person she settles for now that Derek's unavailable. Rachel nodded slowly. I understand. I'm sorry it ended the way it did. I'm not. It ended exactly the way it needed to. If she'd gotten on that train, I would have spent another year making excuses for her behavior. The train station forced both of us to be honest about our priorities. Can I ask you something? Did you know you were going to leave her that day? I thought about it. No, but I knew I was tired. Tired of coming second. Tired of making plans that got canceled. Tired of watching her face light up when Derek texted in a way it never did for me. When she chose to stay on that call instead of board the train, something just clicked. I realized I could keep fighting for someone who wasn't fighting for me, or I could fight for myself instead. She says you were cruel, that you didn't give her a chance to explain. I gave her 2 years of chances. The train station was just the first time I stopped accepting her excuses. After Rachel left, I sat in that coffee shop for another hour, working on a presentation for my new team. My phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. Dinner at my place tonight? I'm making that pasta you love. I smiled. Victoria and I had developed a routine over the past few months. Wednesday dinners at her place, Friday dates exploring the city, Sunday mornings at the farmer's market. It was easy, comfortable, and most importantly, consistent. She showed up when she said she would. She didn't cancel plans. When we were together, she was actually present. March brought warmer weather and a business trip to San Francisco. My team had landed a massive client, a tech startup looking to overhaul their entire project management system. It was worth over $2 million, and it was largely due to the innovative approach I'd developed. Patricia told me I was on the short list for director when she retired in 2 years. You're exactly the kind of leader we need, she said. Someone who innovates, who pushes the team forward, who isn't afraid to take calculated risks. I walked along the Embarcadero on my last evening there, phone in hand, video chatting with Victoria. The view is incredible, she said, seeing the Bay Bridge behind me. I wish I was there. Next time you're coming with me. The company will pay for a companion on trips over a week. Is that a promotion perk or a boyfriend perk? Both, though I'm hoping we can upgrade that title soon. She blushed. Are you asking me to be your girlfriend officially? Because I thought we already were. We are. But I wanted to make sure you knew I was serious about this. About us. I'm serious too, she said softly. More serious than I've been about anyone in a long time. After we hung up, I sat on a bench and watched the sunset paint the bay in shades of orange and pink. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I heard you got promoted. Congratulations. You deserved it. I'm proud of you, even if I don't have the right to be anymore. I hope you're happy. E." I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I deleted it and blocked the number. Some chapters close not with dramatic confrontations or tearful reconciliations, but with quiet decisions to keep moving forward. Emma had taught me something valuable, that love without choice is just habit. That being someone's priority means they demonstrate it through actions, not words. That I deserved to be with someone who didn't need to lose me to realize my worth. I'd spent 2 years trying to be enough for someone who was looking elsewhere. I'd spent the last 4 months being more than enough for myself and building something real with someone who saw my value from day one. The difference was night and day. I pulled out my laptop and made a few final adjustments to my presentation. Tomorrow, I'd walk into that conference room and showcase the work that had consumed my energy over the past few months. Work I'd poured myself into after reclaiming all the emotional bandwidth I'd been wasting on a one-sided relationship. My phone buzzed again. Victoria, sending me a photo of the painting she was working on, a landscape of the Oregon coast from our Portland trip, where we'd first met. "This one's for you," her message said. "For the man who taught me that people who value themselves are the most attractive people in the world." I smiled and texted back. "I learned it from walking away from someone who didn't." "Their loss," she replied immediately. "My gain." I couldn't argue with that. The San Francisco presentation was a success. My client signed a 3-year contract worth millions. My team celebrated that night with dinner at a rooftop restaurant overlooking the city. Patricia pulled me aside during dessert. "You've transformed in the past few months," she said. "I don't know what changed, but you're operating at a completely different level now. Focused, strategic, confident. This is the Liam I always knew was in there." I stopped accepting situations that didn't serve me, I said simply, in all areas of my life. "Well, keep it up. The board noticed your work on the Riverside account. They're impressed. Between you and me, that director position might come sooner than 2 years." That weekend, Victoria came to visit. We spent Saturday morning at the farmer's market, bought fresh ingredients, and spent the afternoon cooking together in my kitchen. She'd brought her painting of the Oregon coast, now finished, and we hung it above my couch. "It looks perfect there," she said, stepping back to admire it. "It really does." She turned to face me, suddenly nervous. "I need to tell you something." My stomach tightened slightly. "Okay. I'm falling in love with you. I know it's only been 4 months, and maybe that's too soon to say it, but I believe in being honest about how I feel. You don't have to say anything back. I just wanted you to know." I pulled her close. "It's not too soon. I'm falling in love with you too." She exhaled in relief and wrapped her arms around me. I was so nervous to say that. "Why?" "Because you're the first person I've dated who's actually emotionally available, who shows up consistently, who doesn't play games or keep me guessing. It almost seemed too good to be true, and I was worried I'd scare you off by coming on too strong." "You couldn't scare me off. You're exactly what I didn't know I was missing. You're what I should have been looking for all along." We kissed, and in that moment, I felt the last residual attachment to my old life dissolve completely. Emma was my past. A lesson learned, a chapter closed. Victoria was my present, possibly my future. But most importantly, I was my own foundation now. Solid, stable, unshakable. I'd learned that self-respect was non-negotiable. That walking away from disrespect wasn't cruel, it was self-preservation. That the right person wouldn't make you compete for their attention or wonder where you stood. Emma had taught me what I wouldn't tolerate. Victoria was teaching me what I deserved. But the train station in November, that moment when I bought my ticket and boarded alone, had taught me the most important lesson of all. Sometimes love means walking away, and sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to keep walking, change your number, and never look back. April arrived with cherry blossoms and longer days. Victoria and I had our first real disagreement, something minor about whose turn it was to plan date night. We worked through it in 20 minutes, communicating clearly, apologizing sincerely, compromising fairly. It was so different from fights with Emma, which had lasted days and somehow always ended with me apologizing for things I hadn't done wrong. "That was our first fight," Victoria said afterward, sitting on my couch with her legs tucked under her. "If you can even call it a fight. More like a discussion with slightly raised voices." "I was worried," she admitted, "that maybe you'd see me differently after we disagreed about something." "Why would I see you differently?" "Adults disagree. It's how you handle disagreement that matters. You listened to me, I listened to you, and we found a solution. That's exactly how it should work." She smiled. "Your ex really did a number on you, didn't she?" "What do you mean?" "The way you're surprised when basic relationship things work the way they're supposed to. When I show up on time. When I don't cancel plans. When we resolve conflict like adults. You act like I'm exceptional. But really, I'm just doing the bare minimum of being a decent partner." I thought about that. She was right. I'd been so used to Emma's chaos that Victoria's consistency seemed extraordinary. But it wasn't. It was just what a healthy relationship looked like. "You're not the bare minimum," I said. "But you're right that Emma set the bar very low. I'm still recalibrating what normal looks like." "Well, this is normal," Victoria said, gesturing between us. "This is what it should feel like. Easy, comfortable, like we're on the same team." "We are on the same team." Exactly. In May, Jake threw his annual birthday barbecue. I brought Victoria this time, her first introduction to my wider friend group. She fit in immediately, laughing at Jake's terrible jokes, holding her own in the yard games, and winning everyone over with her. Genuine warmth. Emma wasn't there. Jake had told me beforehand that he'd made it clear she wasn't invited. "I know she's been struggling," he'd said, "but what she did to you wasn't okay. And the way she's been acting since, showing up everywhere, spreading her version of events, trying to turn people against you, that's not cool. She made her choices. Now she gets to live with them." At the barbecue, Tom approached me. Tom, who'd stopped inviting me to game nights because Emma cried at the mention of my name. "Hey, Liam, can we talk?" "Sure." We stepped away from the crowd. Tom looked uncomfortable. "I owe you an apology. Melissa and we stopped inviting you to things because Emma was always so upset. But we've seen her behavior over the past few months, and we're starting to realize we only heard her side of the story." "What changed?" "She showed up at our place last week, drunk, crying about how you ruined her life. She kept saying Derek was supposed to choose her, that she'd given up everything for him. And now he was with someone else and you were happy and she was alone. It was eye-opening. The way she talked about it, it was clear she'd never really been invested in your relationship. You were just there. A stable option while she pined for someone else." "Yeah, that's what I figured out at the train station. I'm sorry we didn't have your back. We should have asked for your side." "I appreciate that. For what it's worth, you seem really happy now." And Victoria seems great. She is, and I am. As summer approached, my life felt full in a way it never had with Emma. My work was thriving. I was managing 3 major accounts and had been given approval to hire 2 additional team members. My relationship with Victoria was deepening naturally, without drama or chaos. My friendships were stronger, built on mutual respect rather than social obligation. I'd started playing guitar again, something I'd abandoned during my relationship with Emma. Victoria loved to listen while she painted. We'd spend Sunday afternoons like that, me playing, her painting, both of us comfortable in the creative silence. One evening in June, Victoria and I were walking through the park near my apartment when we ran into Emma. She was with a man I didn't recognize. Average height, dark hair, wearing a gym shirt. He had his arm around her waist. Emma's eyes locked on mine, and I saw a flash of something. Defiance, maybe. Or performative happiness. "Liam," she said, stopping directly in our path. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Emma, hope you're well." Her eyes moved to Victoria, taking in every detail. Victoria squeezed my hand gently and smiled politely. "This is Cameron," Emma said, pulling the man closer. "My boyfriend." "Nice to meet you," I said neutrally. "We've been together for 2 months," Emma continued, unprompted. "He's a personal trainer, very attentive. He always answers his phone when I call, never makes me feel like I'm competing for his attention." The jab was obvious. Victoria stiffened slightly beside me. "That's good," I said evenly. "Everyone deserves that." "Yes, they do." Emma's smile was brittle. "I'm glad we finally agree on something." Cameron looked uncomfortable, clearly sensing the tension. "Well, we should get going," I said. "Enjoy your evening." As we walked away, Victoria said quietly, "She's not over you." "No, she's not. But that's not my problem. She wanted you to see her with someone else, to make you jealous." "I know. Did it work?" Victoria looked up at me. "Did it? Not even a little bit. I felt nothing except relief that she's someone else's concern now." "Good answer." She smiled and leaned into me. "Though I kind of wanted to tell her that you're the best thing that's ever happened to me, and she's an idiot for letting you go." "You can tell her next time if you want." "There won't be a next time. I'm pretty sure she'll avoid us, from now on. She got what she wanted, to show you she'd moved on. Except you'd already moved on months before she did, and seeing that probably hurt more than she expected." Victoria was perceptive. Emma had staged that encounter hoping to provoke some reaction from me, some sign that I still cared or felt regret. But I didn't. That chapter of my life was finished, filed away, learned from. 6 months after the train station, I sat in my new corner office, looking out over the city skyline. My promotion to director had come through early. I was the youngest director in the company's history. My team was thriving. My projects were succeeding beyond projections. My phone buzzed with a message from Victoria. "Dinner at our place tonight? I'm making that pasta you love." Our place. She'd moved in 2 weeks ago, and it felt right in a way that nothing with Emma ever had. Natural. Easy. Chosen every day. Jake called that afternoon. "Dude, you're not going to believe this. Emma's dating some guy she met at her gym. She posted about it on social media. Called him her second chance at getting it right." "Yeah, I met him last month. Seemed okay." "You met him? And you didn't tell me?" "It wasn't worth mentioning." Jake laughed. "Man, you really are over her. The old Liam would have analyzed that interaction for days." "The old Liam was lost. I'm not him anymore." "No, you're not. You're better. Hey, So Emma's apparently been telling people that you leaving her was the wake-up call she needed. That she's grateful for it now, in retrospect. Maybe she is. Growth is good. You're being remarkably mature about this. Why wouldn't I be? Her moving on doesn't affect me. I hope she's happy. I hope she learned something. But mostly I just hope she leaves me out of it. After hanging up, I pulled up photos from last weekend. Victoria and I had gone hiking, just the two of us and miles of wilderness. In every photo, we were laughing, holding hands, completely present with each other. No phones, no distractions, no ghosts of former relationships haunting the spaces between us. Just two people who'd both learned their lessons and were building something real. I saved my favorite photo as my phone background, Victoria kissing my cheek at the summit of Mount Hood. Both of us wind-swept and grinning, the whole world stretched out behind us. Then I closed my laptop, grabbed my jacket, and headed home to her. The train I'd boarded alone that November day had carried me away from everything I'd been settling for and toward everything I'd been missing. Emma had stood on that platform, phone to her ear, making her choice. I'd made mine by stepping onto that train. Best decision I'd ever made. Now, months later, I understood that the train had been a metaphor. Every day presented the same choice. Board the train to the life you deserve, or stay on the platform waiting for people who don't choose you. I'd learned to board the train, every single time, and I'd never once looked back.